I'm Luke Sherveld. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Gaffer. This is the official rollout of the Aputure Accent B7c. And you're thinking, that looks just like a regular light bulb. What's the big deal? Well, that's exactly what it is. It's a regular light bulb. At least it takes the place of one. And it has a little more heatsink going on. Well, this sucker costs $70. And you're thinking, why pay that for this? Before we get to that, let's talk about how we got here. When I was starting out, we had these incandescent light bulbs. Yeah. And you would put them in a scene. We call them practicals. They would light up, and then you had a nice warm bulb. You might get these dipped in blue, so they would have sort of a daylight feel. This is a 40-watt household bulb, just regular thing you get at the hardware store. Then if you had a paper lantern, maybe just out of frame, you needed something that was a little hotter. Well, this has one dot on it, so that makes it a 211. If you have two dots on it, it's a 212. Three dots on it, it means it's a 213. So that's a 75 watt, 150 watt, or 250 watt. That's just sort of standard, film bulbs that you get a nice glow out of that. So that's just something we got used to using, and the blue ones didn't last very long, so you could go through an entire box quite easily. And the tungsten ones lasted a little bit longer, but yeah, you had to have a lot on hand. And if you had a ring light, with bulbs, then you'd have a whole bunch of these, and then you'd have to put them on a dimmer. So let's say we've got the household bulb, the 40 watter, and we put it in a socket, and we want to put this on a dimmer. Get ourselves a little hand squeezer, and now we can pop it on. We can dim it down nicely. And as it dims, it gets a little warmer, and so then we have to deal with that a little bit, or we just roll with it. And then as we went along, why this tungsten bulb would get replaced by funky LED bulbs that you get at the hardware store. So that's great. Now we can turn those on. This was daylight because I wanted a bunch of daylight things. And then as you dimmed it, it's blowing out on screen, but it's definitely flickering. And so that's an issue. What you could do about that is get a different squeezer. I also had this issue with quasar tubes, that the old style dimmer wasn't working with the new sort of LEDs. And then you'd get a little more expensive dimmer, and then you'd figure out how that worked. And now that same bulb would no longer flicker because this has electronics in it that help that along. But now let's say you're on a stage, you're in a white limbo set, in the middle is a couch and a lamp, and you need to have a bulb in there that you have some control of. Well, you can run a stinger out there and you can tape it white, and then, maybe paint it out if it's out of scene and all that kind of stuff. But it'd be cool if you could have that on battery power. Well, how would you do that? You could actually do that with this, tether tools. And this is something that I saw Andrew Locke talk about. It works off of a D-tap and then gives you regular plug-in. So let's set that up. We'll plug that in, a battery, and now we have control again. You have it in your scene on the dimmer, and you set it to the brightness that you want, but you don't have control of it. So we could add another box. Dimmer. Yeah. This is an elation unibar. So basically it's just a 1,000-watt dimmer pack. And you plug this into your battery adapter, and then this would go into here, and now you can set your DMX, and then here you could run your 5-pin DMX, or you could put in a centena, and now with this little clump you have a way to make this sucker work and dimmable remotely. All right, so that's pretty cool. You can make it happen with a tungsten bulb. Now remember, when you're changing it from full on to dim, you're going to change that color temp. You know, that white tuning is going to get warmer and warmer. And also, it's never going to be a different color. It's never going to be daylight. That's what we worked with for decades. And we found all kinds of ways of softening and gelling inside of shades and inside of paper lanterns. And anyway, I mean, bulbs have been great. Can't complain. But I've always been looking forward to a bulb that had more capabilities, more flexibility, and in a perfect world was battery operated and remote controllable. So when the hue bulbs came out, it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. You know, Philips brought color to regular practical bulbs. That was kind of neat. But the first time I used them, the camera saw a flicker. And I was like, man, you know, that's not helping us here. I've also heard of people who have used them on low budget features and, you know, needed them to be on full bore and they didn't have flicker, and that was great. But that was not my experience. So it was just sort of a non-starter. And then we've been hearing about two manufacturers coming out with LED, tunable, even RGB, and potentially remote controllable bulbs. So Astera came out with the Nix bulb. Oh, let me just see if I can get it to go here. There we are. Okay, so now what did this take? This is plugged in into a socket, and I have it on the Astera app, and then I also have the Astera box, so a transmitter that is talking between the app and the light. Now, that's all wonderful, and eventually they're going to update the app so that it can talk directly to the unit, which is great. This does not have a battery in it. However, it does have a little tap here so that you can, you know, with a USB tether, now you can plug that into a little battery brick. They also provide, or they don't provide, you pay for this little box, and this is something that you can plug in to your unit, and then you can set the profile, the parameters of your unit through this box, and this box can be plugged in. It also has a battery in it, so, and you can attach it to it. And anyway, I'll talk about this more another time. Here you have a unit that you can tune, that you can put all kinds of effects on it, and you know, so it has all that color tunability. It's all there in the app, but in exchange for not having the battery in it, it has CRMX in it. You can control it with blackout, and away you go. So that's great. Okay, let's get to the main event, the Aputure Accent B7c. I've got it plugged in here, and you can go to your Sidus app, and now let's see, we have control of that, and this is talking directly to the unit. Now, it's not CRMX, it's the Sidus app, and it's the same app that's controlling all your other Aputure units, and it can play in that world, all the different colors and the effects. And then you can also put it into magic mode, but now it's got controls on the outside here. So if I hit all of these, I can change the mode. So if there's 3 buttons. Now, if I hit all 3 buttons, and I take it out of the socket, I've changed it to battery mode. From AC to battery, that simply. That's pretty slick. So now this sucker can live on its own for a couple hours. It can go into a fixture and not have that, that fixture doesn't have to have power to it, but you can still work it. And I can still change it through the app. Can you get a lot more light out of it? Sure. You have a battery operated unit that is full RGB WW, and with the controls on the unit, you can change it to AC. You can change output plus and minus on the fixture, or you can do it through your app. So I don't know if you can see it too well, but not even messing with the app. I'm just turning it on, and then there's a plus minus button, and so I'm bringing down the minus button, and so I can bring it into there, and then the plus button, I can press that and it brings it up again, and then just hit the middle button and it turns it off. So, for me, this is like the culmination of a long wait to have something that's that straightforward, that you can just click on and away you go, put it in a fixture. It's very similar to the sort of leap forward that we got with Astera tubes, because they had batteries in them. And now you do have Astera bulbs, and that's great within that system. But now within the Aputure system, you have an even cooler battery operated bulb, and all inclusive. So, for me, it's just another tool. I want to have them all, but I'm just really happy that such a cool fixture is available to everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Now, the reason why I think it's appropriate to talk about other fixtures when this is sort of a rollout of a single product is because in their own literature, they want to talk about it. So, you've got the Hue light, the Nix bulb, and then the B7c. And there's a comparison chart. And, with prices, with the things that they do or don't do. And of course, in this regard, the B7c comes out really well because it's battery operated. Doesn't have the flicker of the Hue, and has control via the Aputure app, which is awesome. Now, there's also what is like a little manual. It's like a tiny. This is sort of a. It's a single page that would fold up into just a small little manual, right? Well, for old people like me, that's pretty small. So what I did was, because it came in a PDF, I just took the one page that was really important to me and blew that up and then printed that. And so this is the important chart that shows you what things you press in order to make something happen. So, check in AC mode, or you can switch to AC mode, switch to battery mode when it's charging, when it's fully charged, Bluetooth reset, to pair it with the app, checking the battery level, all those things are important. And there are ways of pushing the different buttons and seeing a light that pulses that gives you the indication of what's happened. So that's an important piece of this puzzle. I mean, the Aputure ecosystem is quite robust now. You've got hard light that you can make soft with modifiers, or you can make them more focused with Fresnel lenses. So that's, you know, the 120s, the 300, 300X. And then you've got panel lights like the Nova. You've got the little MCs. You put enough of them in a row, it's sort of like a tube light, or individually, boom, boom, boom. You have all these little accents. And now we have an accent light that you can actually twist into your practical. And on top of that, there's good color science going on. So this isn't just, you know, knockoff land. This is quality stuff. So I'm just really happy for all the people that use these units. And sure, you're working off an app. Great. But many of the units also have 5-pin DMX. So you have those options, and who knows, going forward, there may even be CRMX. So there's a lot to be happy about. Have fun out there. So 40 watt equivalent, 50 watt equivalent, 60 watt. And color wise, this feels a little warmer, but for the most part, yeah, pretty close.